Hey, everybody. As we conclude this first session, we want to wrap up discovering your essentials. Now, first, we understood how groups fit into the church. And then we looked at the vision and mission of the small group ministry and how that gives us a North Star to stay on track. Then, in the second part, we learned about what Jesus described to us that a small group with purpose should do. Then we looked at the 7 convictions of running that are running in the background of your mind as a small group leader. And then we looked at the concentric circles and we identified where our members were and how we could pray for them in their next developmental steps. Now, in understanding how we fit into our church's strategy and leadership, let's bring this session to a close by understanding small group health and then conclude with individual spiritual health. So first, let's jump in to look at the small group. Letter F, balance of the purposes is key. Now, I want you to look at those 2 diagrams. There's one on the left, a circle that we say is unhealthy, which is out of balance. And then the circle on the right, which is healthy, which is a balanced group. Now, the circle on the left tends to be the typical small group, where there's always something out of balance or dominant in the small group based on the spiritual giftedness of where the leader is. If the leader is strong in fellowship, fellowship is going to be way out of balance, which is predominantly most small groups. If it's discipleship, it'll be heavy teaching. If it's service oriented, they're going to be really strong on service and so on and so on. But what we want to move small groups to is that diagram on the right, because it's important that we do all 5 of the verbs in the Great Commission and the Great Commandment. Now, in order to do that, you have to understand a couple things. First, understand it's not doing every purpose when your group meets. Now, what I'm saying is, you don't say, hey, for the first 15 minutes, let's just fellowship together at our group. Then for the next 15 minutes, let's look at our lesson plan. And then for the next 15 minutes, let's figure out some serving project we can do in our group. Maybe clean the host or the small group leader's bathroom that is at the house. And then for the next 15 minutes, we're supposed to do evangelism. So let's go out in the neighborhood and tell people they should turn or burn. And then for the next 15 minutes, let's come back and sing songs that we may not sing very well. Now, if you do that in your small group, you will destroy your small group. When we're balancing the purposes, it's not that we're trying to do them all in the same night that the small group may meet, but more is what number 2 describes, is you want to evaluate your group health on a semi-annual basis. Now, what happens is most small groups don't evaluate how well they're doing. And all we're saying is that we send out a 10-question survey to all of our groups, the leaders and the members, basically just doing a quick checkup. And all we're trying to find out is in the last 6 months, how much fellowship did you do? How much discipleship did you do? How much serving did you do for the church? How much evangelism did you do to care about people outside of your circle? And then worship, how much did you surrender and sacrifice to God as a group? Now, when you evaluate your group health, all you're doing is helping to say, okay, for the next 6 months, where do we need to focus? Now, throughout our notebook that we have tips for leaders. And some of them I focus on, some of them I don't. This one I want to help you with because it's got some great resources for you. Because we have some tools that can help you balance the health of your small group. 2 of them that are listed there is one is a book I wrote called Leading Small Groups with Purpose, which kind of explains it's what we give to all of our small group leaders that start out with the groups to help them learn what we want them to do. And inside that book, there's over 200 ideas on what they can do in the 5 purposes. And then I wrote another book called 250 Big Ideas. And basically it's 50 ideas of what you could do for fellowship, 50 ideas for discipleship, serving, evangelism, and worship. And it's a soft-bound book, the 250 ideas one is, so that you can kind of tear it apart. And if someone's passionate about one of those 5 areas, you can give them those 50 ideas and say, hey, help our group do those. So now that you understand where we're kind of headed for the health of a small group and tips to get healthy that I was just telling you about, let's turn to the individual side of your small group.